Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem's August 16th worship service. August 16th, the summer is almost over. And yet, fall and the start of school and new things is going to look very different this year. So take the time now to enjoy each moment and each day. We are so glad that you joined us here today, and welcome.
Our opening hymn today is Every Night and Every Morn. It's number 17 in the Gray Hymnal.
Be That One by Cheri. Be that one who forgives when deep offense has been committed, that one who loves when no one else does, that one who gives kindness to those who are mean. Be the one who looks past the insult, instead seeing the pain that motivated it. That one who shines light upon those who sit in utter darkness. Because the impact of being that one runs far and wide. It brings healing to the wounded, joy to the sad, and hope to those in despair. Be that one. Let us foster our better selves to be that one as we say our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. Build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world. Each week, we light 3 chalices. The first for our congregation here in Salem, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. The second chalice we light is for our partner church in Šibenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And the third we light for our children and youth in religious exploration and in the world at large. The light from these chalices we light weekly represents our love and connection we have for one another. Whether near or far, in person or virtually. whether it's memories in our hearts and minds. May you feel this light, love, and connection within you. Be sure and check out the Children and Family Service via Zoom, live Sundays at 10 a.m. Compassion, the art of acknowledging the pain and hurt in others. But first, we must acknowledge it in ourselves. At some point in our lives, we have been hurt, either emotionally or physically, mentally or spiritually. At these times, we need to nurture ourselves by showing compassion to that inner self, forgiving ourselves for letting ourselves get hurt, saying, it's okay. Everyone gets hurt at some point. It doesn't mean we aren't strong enough, capable enough, smart enough. If we can forgive and show compassion to ourselves, we will be better apt to forgive others and show them the compassion they so desperately need. Think now of a time when you have been hurt. Possibly someone snubbed you without intending to, or got angry about something that to you seemed trivial. Think of those times. And first, tell yourself that you are safe. You are okay. And now, think of the other person and why they acted how they did. Are you ready to forgive them? At least in your mind's eye? Forgive them and send them compassionate thoughts. Doing so will help you feel better as well. Compassion is our way. Gratitude. The more we can practice the act of gratitude, the more we can find opportunities to be grateful. The hummingbirds, the marionberries, the long summer nights. We can find gratitude in forgiveness too. We can be grateful for those dear souls who graciously forgive us when we have erred in some way. Think now of someone who has shown you the unconditional love of forgiveness. Someone who has said, that's okay. I know you didn't mean it. You are still worthy of love. They may not say these exact words. They may say it in actions, but you feel it and you know it is true. You are worthy. For that, you shall be truly grateful for these kind words or actions. Think now of someone who has shown you forgiveness and unconditional love, and hold them in your heart. Be grateful. We want to stay connected, and one way we can do this is by going to the website and sharing your joys and concerns and reading about them. One note that I want to make, in case you're not aware, is that Janet Newberg should be home when you see this video. But be sure and look on the website to see who to contact to assist her in getting food. That would be helpful. Also, be sure and check out a notice about Megan Roller. And that's it. Apology letter to whom it may concern. To whom it may concern. My clients, the Honorable Owl and Delightful Pussycat, would like to send their deepest regrets and most profound apologies over any misunderstandings or unfortunate incidents that occurred during their nocturnal ceremony of the time of nuptial bliss the other evening on that now notorious island that will not be mentioned. In hopes that they not miss anything, they wish to request forgiveness from the following, based on chronological order of how the events played out. So, if you'll forgive me in my potentially lengthy cataloging of events, unknown to myself personally, I shall begin. First off, regarding the usage of the boat mentioned that went to sea, it is unfortunate that the moorings were not better attached to the jetty. Owl simply wanted Pussycat to feel the calm rocking of the sea. And so when suddenly they started going out further and further, he did not know what to do except to try and placate the situation with song and distraction onto the renowned beauty of Pussy. Owl offers his deepest apology to Mr. P. Green, former owner of the aforementioned seaworthy craft. The fact that Owl also happened to have a tuned guitar with him that may or may not have been borrowed from the town music store is really of no consequence. Secondly, Pussycat feels the whole money, honey confusion was entirely based on miscommunication with the local fiduciary of her Aunt Mildred's. And what she meant to do was leave the purse with the money wrapped up in a 5-pound note with her aunt, not to take it herself on the evening out with Owl. Both Owl and Pussy feel aggrieved that they did not let their loved ones know where they were for that year and a day. Their only excuse was that the Postal Service is not good when you're out in the middle of the sea. Now, as to the pig and the ring, yes, Al realizes that perhaps a shilling in today's economy was possibly a little low for the ring the caliber that the pig had. As much as both Al and Pussy would like to make amends, neither are responsible for their own expenditures anymore. So request that Pig contact their payee to receive compensation. And both are really so grateful to that wonderful being who married them so quickly without knowing anything about them. They do regret the choice of the term turkey in describing this benevolent creature. The reception by the moonlight was delightful, and the mince and quince exquisite. In the dark, they could not see that they were partaking of that lovely family's reunion, and they do hope the family was not too offended by their behavior. It is my client's greatest wish to all whom it may be concerned, that this whole business is forgiven and forgotten, and to let all know that they are a changed Al and Pussycat. Respectfully yours, Winifred Winthrop, Attorney at Law.
Thank you, Sara. Well, each of us has been hurt or offended by someone else, and each of us has caused hurt or offended someone else, whether that be physical or emotional, whether it have been intentional or accidental, or by neglect. These hurts affect our relationships, and they leave an imprint on our hearts. What to do about hurting and being hurt is a fundamental human issue. The world's largest religion, Christianity, makes this its central message. Our sins are forgiven. That is an enormous source of comfort and confidence to the Christian who really takes it in. Unitarian Universalism has no coherent theology of sin and forgiveness, but we do need to deal with hurts that we've experienced and hurts that we have caused. Back when I was pastor of a church, each week in my benediction, I would say, be slow to judge, quick to forgive. Over time, though, I came to realize that I needed to modify that. There is some confusion and some resistance around forgiveness. We know that we're supposed to forgive, but a lot of times it just doesn't seem right. It's not right to pretend that what happened didn't happen. It's not right to pretend that it didn't hurt when it did. It's not right to pardon a wrong when it ought to be made right or prevented from recurring in the future. A lot of times it's not right to absolve a wrongdoer of responsibility or to return to a relationship of trust with them. That may be imprudent and even unkind. A lot of times forgiveness is taken to mean these things, and so we're not always sure that forgiveness is what's called for. So instead of saying, be quick to forgive, I began urging people instead to practice letting go of resentment. Yes, that's what I mean. Letting go of resentment and ill feeling. That is the kind of forgiveness I would recommend to you, my friends, and you can get better at it with practice. Someone said, holding resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Forgiveness is an emotional release on the part of the aggrieved, an unburdening of their heart. It's possible to completely let go of our harsh judgments and ill feeling, wish the other person well, and yet not loan them our car, or do business with them, or trust them not to behave in ways that they've shown they are likely to behave. I suspect some of the time we hold on to hard feelings because we're afraid that if we don't, we'll be a softy and let ourselves get taken advantage of. There could be truth in that. But we do well to realize that if we can get ourselves to behave prudently without having to steel ourselves with hard feelings, we may then be able to stop drinking the poison of resentment. Here's a little story of long-held resentment and how it can change. A 5-year-old girl begged her mother for permission to ride her bike to school. Finally, the mother gave in, but stipulating that the girl had to ride with her big brother. Halfway to school, they stopped at a traffic light and straddled their bikes. The light turned green and they started across the street, older brother in the lead. Seconds later, the girl was on her back looking up at the underside of a chrome car bumper, terrified. The driver of the car quickly picked her up, brought her into the car, and whisked her to the hospital. And as they drove away, the girl wondered about her older brother. She looked out the window and saw him, her mentor, her idol and protector, pedaling down the street, glancing back only once. 28 years later, at Thanksgiving dinner, the girl, now a grown-up woman, blurted out the question that had been stewing inside of herself all these years. Why did you leave me lying in the middle of the street after I was hit by that car when I was 5 years old? Her brother stammered, "For God's sake, I was only 6. This story has something to teach us. The hurt feelings of a traumatized 5-year-old are very understandable. But the perpetrator was himself a weak and frightened 6-year-old. And when we realize that, it sets the whole thing into a new perspective. Riding off and leaving his sister was probably not a great response, even for a 6-year-old, but still. And it may have looked very different through his eyes. She was in the car and they were driving away before I could do anything. That may have been so. A lot of times life is like this. Yes, those are character flaws, but people do have character flaws, and when we consider it from that point of view, it gives the whole thing a new perspective. I wonder if there are memories of hurt or offense in your life where resentment might be poisoning your heart in ways large or in ways small. The memory of abuse by a parent or a partner, or abandonment by them. Being maltreated by a boss or a coworker. Being robbed or assaulted. A loved one who committed suicide or otherwise abandoned you. It doesn't have to be big things. Have you ever perhaps felt neglected by a parent, a spouse, a friend? Or have you felt taken for granted? Are there sometimes little resentments that pop up in your mind, like that reckless driver, or those dishes that you found left unwashed, or a public figure who says something that drives you crazy? We remember these events, but are we carrying resentment? It's not always easy to tell. These things don't usually come labeled resentment. But a good way to spot them is to notice the accusing monologue in your mind. When you find yourself rehearsing the case against them or bawling them out in your imagination. The first thing is to simply recognize that what is going on at such moments is that you are harboring resentment. Not saying that's a terrible thing, but it's absolutely essential to recognize that they did what they did in the past. But this thing that is happening now, the resentment, that is something you are generating. And it's possible for that to be different. There's a wonderfully illuminating insight which I've seen attributed alternately to the Buddha, Carl Jung, Annie Lamott. I read somewhere, and Annie Lamott, quoting a source she can't recall. So the origin of this quote is dubious, but the insight is this. Forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past. Forgiveness is ceasing to rail against the past, insisting it really needs to be otherwise. It's accepting that what happened has happened and deciding that self-righteousness is not as much fun as it's made out to be. Embracing this life, choosing to live in the heart with what has happened. One of the lamest bits of pop psychology of all time is traceable to that old film, Love Story. Even if you've never seen the film, you've probably heard this line. Love means never having to say you're sorry. Have you ever heard anything more absurd in your life? The opposite is much closer to the truth. Love means, among other things, being willing to swallow your pride and say, I'm sorry, probably many times. That simple act, done in sincerity, can be a great kindness, not only because it's good for us to humble ourselves, but it can help the other person open up their heart after having been hurt. We can't make the other person forgive us, but we can acknowledge the hurt and our role in it. We can be sorry, that is sympathetic, and if appropriate, contrite. We can ask for forgiveness, and that can help. I can think of no better illustration of this than the example of my own father. My father was a raging alcoholic. No need to rehearse here all the ways his behavior was inappropriate and hurtful. Suffice to say that I grew up in terror of him, but also with pity for him, because I could see that while I was pretty happy, he was miserable and ashamed of himself. To make a long story short, long after I had grown up and moved away, my father got cancer of the larynx, or voice box, which led him to stop drinking during his cancer treatment. The treatment was successful. And being sober for the first time in his adult life led him to be more sensible and decent than I had ever known him to be. But even so, he never acknowledged all that he had done. After a couple of years, though, the cancer returned, and he was going to need to have his larynx removed. And I spoke to him on the phone late in the evening, just before his surgery. It was rather poignant, knowing that this would be the last time he would ever speak to me. At the end of that short conversation, I told him for the first time that I loved him. And for the first time, he said he loved me. So that was good. The more important thing I found out later was that after he hung up the phone, he was alone in his hospital room, and he got out his little portable tape recorder. And he recorded himself first reciting some Catholic prayers. And then he said, I'm grateful for my loving family. And he went through and named each person in the extended family. And then he added the most surprising and remarkable words I have ever heard. He said, I know I've caused you all a lot of hardship and heartache. Please forgive me. Just that. Nothing more, no elaboration. After thousands of episodes of abuse, just those few words finally spoken from the heart, and astonishingly, it was enough. I did forgive him. I didn't know I wanted or needed to hear those words, but when I did, something changed in me. I forgave. I let go of my resentment. Well, 85%. I gave up insisting on a better past. Pretty much. And I believe it did him a lot of good to finally humble himself and face the hard truth of his life and ask forgiveness, even at that late date. Then again, I often hear, forgiving myself is the hardest part. I should have this, I should not have that. I never should have, I should already have. I shouldn't feel this way, I should feel more that way. The more I think about it, though, the more peculiar this seems. We think or feel we have done wrong, and we not only hold ourselves accountable, we berate ourselves with harsh accusations. This is interesting because rarely are we the victim of our own malfeasance. So we are not the aggrieved party. Our outrage is kind of by proxy. We feel a sense of guilt or shame, but then part of us, wanting to distance itself from that, steps outside of ourselves, turns around, and wags the finger of blame, as if from the point of view of an innocent observer. That person I call myself did something bad, but at least I hate them for it. Isn't that interesting? And as often as not, what we stand accused of is not even an offense, really, more like a screw-up or an imperfection. We should have done more of something, or done it better, or done it sooner. We should understand. We should get it right. High standards. The part of us that does all the accusing seems to believe it's a moral imperative to have high standards. Sometimes I wonder who we think we are and what motivates us to hold on to our harsh judgments of ourselves and of others. Simon Wiesenthal tells of waiting in a refugee camp after World War II and loaning $10 to a man there who assured him he had a package coming next week and would repay him then. But at week's end, he had some excuse for not paying, same thing the next week, and so on for almost a year. Finally, the man came up to Wiesenthal with a $10 bill and said, my visa has come through and I'm leaving for Canada. Here's the money I owe you. Wiesenthal waved him away and said, no, you keep it. For $10, it's not worth changing my opinion of you. Though it makes us miserable, there is a part of us that likes to sit in judgment. Years ago, I had a dream that had a big impact on me, a very, very simple dream. So simple, there were no characters and no plot. Nothing happened. The dream consisted merely of the words, I forgive myself for not being God, and I forgive God for not living up to my expectations. Those words, but not just the words, the meaning of that hovered there deep in the mind space of the dream. And a deep sense of forgiveness washed over me. I forgive myself for not being God. and I forgive God for not living up to my expectations. Nothing in there about being relieved of my authentic responsibilities, but there was the dropping of the over-ambitious demand that I be something that I am not. All good, all powerful, all knowing. And then the real corker. I forgive God for not living up to my expectations. Holy cow. It's absurd, but true. I don't even believe in God. Yet I do presume to harshly judge many events in the unfolding universe. I find them not up to my standards. The stupendous arrogance of one little creature on planet Earth, presuming to measure himself and other people and the human social order and the mystery of life according to his opinions. It's positively Shakespearean, a comedy as well as a tragedy. What needless misery this generates. And at the same time, what a joke. Something changed for me with that dream. Oh yes, I still fall into judging the world, but really, who can take it seriously? There I am, ranting and raving about things in the world, but at the same time, part of me is glancing sideways into the mirror and going, look at that joker. I'm getting better at forgiving myself and the world, letting go of indignation and resentment that everything is not as I would have it be. The deeper truth of the matter is, sometimes I am frustrated. That's okay. Sometimes I am sorrowful. That's okay. Sometimes I'm confused. And that's okay. I try to remember that the world is full of 6-year-olds who are disappointing a bunch of 5-year-olds. I don't think forgiveness is like a light switch that you can just turn on whenever you choose. But there is some choice involved. My friends, I urge you to choose to invite forgiveness into your life. Say yes when a genuine opportunity for forgiveness presents itself to you. And if you feel bad about not being able to forgive when you think you should, see if you can at least forgive yourself for not being God. And I invite you now to gather yourself and bring awareness to the experience of being here right now. Breathing in and out. Gently watch the breath rising and falling. And notice any thoughts and feelings that may arise as well. Notice it all with gentle kindness. You, being you in this world.
We support UUCS through our pledges, time, and connections with one another. We support the Salem community through donations to the Mary and Poke Food Share. And for the month of August, our partner church in Sheeman-Falva, Transylvania, Romania. After the last UUCS group visited last year, the UUCS committee on the partner church grew to include past travelers as well as most current. 10 years ago, Reverend Chandor and his eldest son were sponsored to come here and see how we live here. The committee would like to sponsor that visit again, this time with Reverend Chandor, his wife, and their youngest son. They are all so excited to come and see you here again, or for the first time. The plan is to have them come in August of 2021. So be on the lookout for fundraising information on that project. Us traveling back there again will probably have to be postponed for a couple of years. The money you donate this month in August will go towards the restoration of their church. Please send your checks to UUCS or visit the website, as you see here on your screen, to donate. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS and the wider community of Salem. We take the light from our chalice, lighting the social justice candle. As a symbolic reminder of the light and justice we carry out into the world. As we extinguish the chalices, let us reflect on these words from the Dalai Lama. All major religious traditions carry basically the same message. That is love, compassion, and forgiveness. The important thing is that they should be part of our daily lives. May it be so.
Our closing hymn today is Just as Long as I Have Breath. It's number 6 in the Gray Hymnal.
Imagine joining hands with our community members, guests, family, and friends, saying our closing words together. May faith, in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.